Coming up on this edition of A Warrior Spirit.
And I severed my femoral artery, and if you don't have anyone to help you, if you go into shock, you typically bleed out between 2 to 5 minutes, just because of the loss of blood. And I lost 3 liters of blood. So I'm just very, very thankful to be alive. And I think it's definitely shifted my perspective on life.
A Warrior Spirit provides a platform for independent voices, professionals, and thought leaders to share their insights, experiences, and perspectives. The views and opinions expressed by hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Praxis 33 or its affiliates. Content shared within this program is intended for informational, educational, and inspirational purposes only. While the host and some guests may be professionals or subject matter experts, the information presented is general in nature and should not replace personalized advice from qualified professionals regarding your individual circumstances. By viewing this program, you acknowledge that any decisions or actions taken based on the content are your own responsibility.
I've walked through fire with shadows on my heels. Scars turned to stories that taught me to feel. Lost in the silence, found in the flame. Now wear my battle cry without shame. This isn't the end, it's where I begin. A soul that remembers the fire within.
Welcome back to another episode of A Warrior Spirit, brought to you by Praxis 33. I'm your host, Daryl Snow. Let's dive in. Thank you for joining us again. I'm really excited about today's episode. Not only is it number 175, 3.5 years of doing this show, I have the honor and the privilege again of speaking with someone who's done what this platform has been, which is to be the warrior who's walked through their fire and turned their setback into their message and into their future. And my guest today, Alli Breighner, I think I said that right. If not, she'll correct me. But Alli has been through her own fires. She's forged her own path, and I'm just excited to have you all meet her. So, Alli, thank you for joining me today. Did I butcher the last name? Because I just call your mom Cherie. I don't call her last name.
Just a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah.
Everyone says it wrong. Everyone pronounces it similar to that. It's Breighner, just like
Breighner.
Breighner. But the spelling is a little bit interesting.
I had it all right in my head, and then I tried to say it. So anyway.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
I appreciate you joining me today. I mentioned your mom. Your mom and I have become friends over the years, and I had the pleasure of interviewing your mom as well. But you have had an interesting life in the fact that you survived a surfing accident. And oftentimes when people think of a surfing accident, they think of a shark. But yours was a little different. And I do want to jump into that story. But first, I want to hear a little bit more about your origin story, because you're very young. You're 25 or 26, somewhere in there. And did you grow up in California?
No, I'm actually from the East Coast. So I am originally from more north of Boston. My hometown's Newburyport, Massachusetts. But then I've been in San Diego, California for about 4 years now. So
Okay.
not quite a local, but
My wife is from Salem. Her and her family immigrated from the Azores, so Portuguese as well. And
okay.
she grew up in the Boston area, so very similar to you and your mom and things of that nature. So, what took you from the East Coast to San Diego?
Yeah, I really just wanted to get out of my hometown. And my little brother went to SDSU, so just visiting him, especially in the winter, I realized why not move? And if I don't like San Diego, I could always move back. And
Yeah.
I have no regrets. I'm really, really glad that I moved. I love it here. And it's just definitely a lot different. But I think that's what life's about, just to, go out of your comfort zone and try moving different places if you can.
Yeah, you've actually done a lot of traveling, and we're gonna kind of discuss some of that here a little bit later. But what was life growing up in the East Coast area, Boston area?
Yeah, I was more on the coast than the city, but I loved it. I loved all seasons. That is something I do miss. I really love the fall. I don't know if I miss the winters, like the cold there, just because San Diego is really nice all year round. But my little brother and I always played in the snow, and yeah, it was great. I loved my hometown, and I'm really blessed that I got to grow up there, and then now I get to experience a whole different world out here.
In the opening, I mentioned your surfing. How long have you been a surfer?
Yeah, I don't know if I would define myself as a surfer per se. I've been surfing for a few years, and I feel very comfortable surfing. Felt very confident in my surfing ability, but in terms of just being in San Diego surfing, it's definitely a lot different than the East Coast. I've been surfing in different countries too, but in San Diego, I had only been surfing for about like a year and a half. I used to go almost every other day during the week, just again because the weather's really nice here. But yeah, so I guess just a few years.
No, I've never actually surfed, but I love water. Do you find that the surfing itself is different in parts of the world? Like one
Definitely,
ocean's different from the other?
definitely. Yeah, I would say so. I think there are a lot of differences, but it also just depends, even in a certain area. I think even just different beaches, especially in San Diego, there are so many different spots that you can surf. And then on the East Coast, I think just the waves are a lot different. And then, yeah, again, just the beaches. But
How does someone tell that like it's different? Because visually you're still on a board on water. So how does it interact differently with you when you're actually doing it?
yeah, I think it also depends on the board that you have. Again, I'm not any professional, but I think just the first time I had ever gone surfing was in Nicaragua with my brother and my family, and then one of my friends was a really confident surfer, and we were in Hawaii, so I think just the water and then just the actual waves itself um, just was a lot different. But yeah, and then my accident was about almost 3 years ago now, or this September will be 3 years. But that was more of just a very freak accident. But yeah,
So let's explore that accident for a little bit because it wasn't just, oh, I fell off a board and hit my head. Like you almost died, right?
I did. Yeah, I'm a very open book about it. I think with that accident, it was a very freak accident. There was actually a professional Hawaiian surfer that had died about a couple weeks before my accident because he didn't have the proper help. And I severed my femoral artery, and if you don't have anyone to help you, if you go into shock, you typically bleed out between 2 to 5 minutes, just because of the loss of blood. And I had lost 3 liters of blood, so I'm just very, very thankful to be alive. And yeah, I think it's definitely shifted my perspective on life. And I'm open to talking about it if you have any specific questions too.
Yeah. Well, let's first off describe how it happened and what actually cut your leg and the artery, and that what preceded that afterwards. I've seen clips of the newsreel where they people who were involved in saving you talked about it, but I want to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Just that week, I had been surfing almost every day, and so it just really felt like a random day. I had no idea that it would, lead to something that traumatic. But I had been surfing with a few friends, and we were out there for probably not even half an hour. It was just a sunset surf, and we actually all wiped out on the same wave, but we weren't super close to each other. So part of the reason it was also very intense was that no one was super close to me. So when I came up from the water, it was actually just like a pool of blood. Like I didn't even know it was me at first, and my whole leg was completely ripped open. And I am not anymore, but I used to get very queasy with blood. So just initially, I came up from the water and saw my entire leg open, and I went into shock. And then when I came back up from being unconscious, it felt like an axe was going in and out of my leg. It was just very intense. And I remember my friend swimming over to me, and it was all kind of blurry. And he actually carried me out of the water and used the surfboard leash as a temporary tourniquet. And I was with two of my really close friends, and they also just kind of were traumatized. One of them had to call 911. Strangers tried to help me on the beach, but no one knew what to do. And I think in situations like that, I'm just really thankful that my other friend had known what to do. He used a makeshift tourniquet and then got one of the lifeguards to help me. And then I was probably on the beach for just a few minutes, and I had already lost 3 liters of blood, they said. And I just kept losing more and more blood. So I just remember being on the beach and going in and out of being unconscious. But in terms of the actual accident, I just wiped out and the fin of the surfboard sliced through my leg, and I had to pull it out a little bit. I don't fully remember, that whole situation. It just happened so fast, and I just remember coming up from the water and just trying to breathe and catch my breath. And when I was in the ambulance, I just kind of accepted that I was going to die. And I think some people come close to situations, or maybe not some people. I don't know if that's very common, but just, if you have a serious situation. And I remember breathing, and every breath, I just kept trying to calm myself down. But I felt that if I closed my eyes, I didn't know if I would wake up. So I was just really fighting to keep my eyes open because I wasn't ready to die. And I just remember being really scared and just hearing all these different things around me and just looking at the paramedics. And it was still just very blurry, but I was very aware of where I was, but also very out of it as well, just because of all the blood I lost. And I remember them talking to me to, stay with us, stay with us. And I mentally was there, but I physically couldn't say anything. And that I don't know, it's just very scary.
No, that's very astute for a young person or any person in that kind of trauma to be aware that, hey, I need to stay awake here. I need to participate in my own saving of my life and do that. So once they got you to the hospital, and I'm going to show a quick picture here. I'm going to circle back to this picture later on, but I'm going to show this picture just so people can see the scar on your leg and how
Yeah.
deep the wound actually was. So like that's not just a little puncture wound. That's an actual slicing of the arteries.
Yeah.
So how long were you in the hospital? How many surgeries did you have to go through? And were you always conscious throughout it? Like, did you ever go
Yeah,
into a
that's a
coma?
good question. Yeah, that's a good question. So in terms of the surgery, I only had one surgery, and it was an intense, immediate surgery. Right that night from being in the ambulance, they rushed me to the hospital, and I remember I was unconscious getting out of the ambulance. I don't have any recollection of that. But then when they were, pushing me to go into the emergency room, I felt that they clamped my artery without any medication. And I think that was actually the worst pain that I've ever been through, just because I was fully awake with, again, no medication. And then I went unconscious again, and I don't remember anything up until after my surgery. I woke up in the hospital bed. I did not know where I was. I was in a lot of pain. I had a lot of medication at that point, but both of my legs were completely bandaged up, and I couldn't move either of my legs at all, especially my right leg, for a few days. And I could just, I think the look in my friends and my family's faces were very supportive, but also I could tell that they knew things that I didn't know. And I later found out that I almost lost my right leg if I didn't feel any, um, just anything for the next couple of days, that they potentially would have had to, amputate it. And I think my life just would have been a lot different. And I had 47 staples in my legs. They used my vein in my left leg to repair my right leg. Again, just very thankful that the surgery was successful. And yeah, I know my mom actually had been visiting from Boston. So she just happened to be there that week, which was also very, I was very thankful for that. But yeah, I only had one surgery, and it was that evening of the accident.
Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about how you got out of that bed and how you do some of the things we're going to talk about coming up. So We'll be right back.
We are queens, yeah, let 'em see, ruling the world, full of energy, Musculabios, we're fierce and bold, own your story, let your colors unfold. We're the queens, standing tall and proud, in a world full of colors, let your voice be loud, Besitos beauty, we're the fire, the light, empowered, unstoppable, ready to ignite, grab your shades, it's time for the glow, confidence in color, let the whole world know.
Besitos Beauty, because it's your time to shine. For more information, visit www.besitosbeauty.com. Welcome back to the show. We're speaking with Alli, and we were talking about her surfing accident. We had just covered the actual accident and the surgery. How long were you actually in the hospital for your recovery? And then how long did it take you to regain the ability to walk again? Because you don't just jump out of
Yeah.
bed.
Yeah. No, so I was in the ICU for about 4.5 days. And then 2 more days after that, I was still in the hospital, and they wouldn't clear me until I could walk up a few of the stairs in the hospital. But each day I really struggled just trying to get out of bed, and I really couldn't move. So it was really challenging to go from, always surfing and running and, doing just daily tasks to not really being able to even get up out of bed, even just reaching for water, just everything hurt. And yeah, it was just very, it was just a shock. But
That
yeah,
I
I'd
mean, it
been
just shocks me
cleared
that they
to
wanna
stay.
send you home 6 days later. Because again, you almost like, they're going from, "Hey, we might have to amputate," to, like, "We need to fill this bed again, so move." Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like they gave you a lot of time. So, how long was the actual rehab to actually regain your mobility?
Yeah. In terms of So the 6th day I was, released to go home, and, I still had bandages. When I was in the hospital, I woke up probably every 30 minutes. There was, a nurse that came in to give me more medication. I really didn't get any proper sleep, and even when I was sleeping, I would just wake up, and yeah, so the 6th day, I was really ready to go home. I was really excited to just be in my own bed, and, yeah, I think in terms of my recovery, I was cleared about 4 months later, in terms of just being able to walk again. When I was in the hospital, they weren't sure I would ever be able to run again. So that was really that was challenging just because I love running. I think that's like one of my favorite hobbies. So just the thought of not being able to run again kind of broke my heart. And I had a skiing trip planned, so everything just changed. And but I was just really thankful to even be alive and have both of my legs. And I think just mentally and physically, the accident was a good thing. I think in the moment it was hard, but yeah, looking back and reflecting, a lot of good has come out of it.
4 months of rehab, and we'll go back to this running picture. Not only are you running, but you now run marathons, right?
So yes, I have one at the end of May, but I've done a few half marathons and I run quite often, but this will be my first marathon since my accident. And I'm really excited because I
Yeah, well,
didn't think, as I
that'll
mentioned.
just be a couple days from now, so you'll get to, do your marathon. I have friends who run marathons, and, like, I'm lucky to run to the kitchen, so what propels someone to want to run a full marathon?
That's a great question. I think a lot of people tend to not like running, especially if you don't run often. I used to despise running, and I never understood why people did that voluntarily. But now that I run quite often, I think you're just in your own head, and it's very therapeutic. I just love the physical aspect of it, and then especially the mental. And then going from not thinking I'd be able to really walk or run the same, to now being able to fully run on my own is just really exciting. And I think it's more of just, yeah, just something that I've always um, envisioned for myself, especially in the hospital bed. I prayed every single night that I would be able to run again. even just a mile. And now the thought of doing 26 is just really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we will be definitely cheering you on. You, again, are an amazing woman, not only from the fact of what you survived, but you then took your survival to now marathon running, but you also a few months ago competed in Miss Health and Fitness, and you were a pretty high contender for this. Can you talk about what this activity was and why you entered?
Yeah, definitely. So this was a very large nationwide competition, but I did it more so just to, um, inspire women to put themselves out there. And the actual competition was more of um, health oriented than like bodybuilding. It wasn't really for any like bodybuilders. There definitely were some in the competition, but it was more of what does health mean to you. And I did it more so to share my story of my accident and let people know that if they're going through something similar, that it's okay to feel that you're failing. I think each day after my accident, I went from lifting pretty heavy, or I guess it just depends, but and just running and being able to do so much more than what I was used to. Um, it just made me doubt myself a lot, just to start fresh, start all over, and not being able to really like lift heavy or do anything the same. And yeah, I felt that it was a complete setback. So to join the competition, I just wanted to help inspire and motivate people to let them know that it's okay to start over, or if you've never even started, it's okay to start now, no matter what your age is, or if you're going through something similar, just to put yourself out there. I think way too many people are worried about comparing themselves to others. And a year or two ago, I probably never would have signed up for that and put myself out there. But now, especially after my accident, I really don't worry about what people think, because there's always going to be someone judging you or thinking, poorly on you. And I feel that a lot of those people are projecting, and they're just, they probably wouldn't put themselves out there either. So why do you care what they think, And I think I've met so many great people just with this competition, and so many different ages, so many people that are newly starting their workout journey, or have, done other um, various competitions. So I think it was just really fun. I think a lot of people that supported me were great, and just people I didn't even know I had an influence on supported me. And yeah, I didn't win, but I did get a lot of votes, and I made the like one of the last final rounds. So that was just very exciting.
You won because you were willing to put yourself out there. And anyone who, I mean, you've been through a lot and you had a couple choices: woe is me, or how can I make this better? And you dug into whatever it is internally in yourself and you decided to make it better. And you've been doing that in many different ways. Here's you in Greece. How long ago was this in Greece?
Yeah, that was when I studied abroad. So I got to country hop a lot when I studied abroad, and yeah, it was great. I loved Greece. That was one of my favorite countries. That photo is from a little while ago, but it was beautiful. Yeah.
Well, were you thinking of, and we just show some of the beauty of Greece right there. Were you thinking of modeling? Because you've got some pretty good model poses here. Was that on your horizon?
No, not quite. I think I definitely got a few photos in Greece, and then I lived in Florence for a few months. That's where I mainly studied abroad. But yeah, I was blessed to get to see Greece, and I didn't really answer your question at all. But no, I didn't ever model. It was more just for
Well,
fun.
yeah, those all look like model pictures. And then not only Greece and Italy, but then you went to Switzerland. How
I
long were you in
did.
Switzerland?
Just a few days. I mainly went because it was always on my bucket list to go skydiving in the Swiss Alps. So that was one of my that was one of the best days. I highly recommend. I'm like very afraid of heights, so that was one of the main reasons I added that to my bucket list.
I love skydiving. It's one of the most enjoyable things I've done. But The smile on your face just says it all. I mean, I would love to skydive in Switzerland. And then just a casual photo of you and this beautiful sunset. It just shows again, the beauty in the world that you get to see and experience. Where was this photo at?
That was actually in New Hampshire.
Oh,
So, or wait, maybe that was in, I don't remember. It was a little while ago. That actually may have been in Europe. I don't remember. I can get back to you on that.
that's okay. You've traveled the world. Where is currently on your bucket list? Where do you want to go now?
I really want to go to Japan. Very different. I feel like I've experienced Europe a lot, got to country hop a lot, and then South America. But yeah, I've always wanted to go to Japan. I think that would be great. I've heard, everyone's spoken very highly of it, so that's definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a beautiful country. I'm going to pull up this photo, and I realize on the photo you can't see the words, but the words aren't words. They're a latitude and longitude. Can you explain
Yes.
what this tattoo is?
Yeah, I got that for my grandma. She passed away. She lived in Rhode Island. My mom's side is from Rhode Island. They all grew up there. So my cousin and I got the coordinates of her house to just honor her and my entire family. We all live in different states now, but we usually go there for the 4th of July in her house, actually, that she raised my mom and her sisters. So yeah, we got that a little while ago. Yeah.
That's really cool, and it's a great way to honor a loved one. It's also very
Yeah.
unique, which I feel a lot of what you have lived is kind of unique. I also know that you're an artist, and you have tats and tees by Alli, or you did or have.
Yeah.
What is this? Because I've seen some of your drawings, and you're really a talented young lady. So tell me about
Thank
this
you.
business.
Yeah, it was more of just a side hustle. I love drawing. That's also like one of my favorite hobbies. And in college, I created tattoos for people. I didn't actually, do the tattoo, but I designed what they were interested in, and people started Venmoing me for it. They're like, "Oh, I'll pay you if you design this." And then one of my close friends was like, "You should make a business out of it." So then I started selling like hats and tote bags, especially in San Diego. I think it was pretty popular to sell some hats and tote bags and some hoodies of my own designs and then some requested designs. So that was really fun. Yeah,
Do you still do that for people, or did you
I
give that
do.
part up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
more hats and, like, sweatshirts than
yeah,
anything, but yeah, if anyone's interested, I don't really use that Instagram anymore, it's more of just, a website where people will DM me for it, but yeah, I love doing it, it's always been fun.
yeah, at the end, we'll have your contact info up, and they can reach out. Um, but as someone who's done all of the things that I just showed and been through what you want or what you've been through, what do you want your message to anybody to be? What is it that you really want people to understand, not only about themselves, but about you?
Yeah, definitely, I think one of the main reasons, I applied for the competition was not to win, but was more to share my story and let others know that they should put themselves out there and just be confident and not worry about what others think about them. And just to have fun. I think, especially after my accident, I didn't take life too seriously. Like if something embarrassing happened, maybe a few years before, I'd be overthinking or just being embarrassed. But I think it's just really important to um, yeah, not compare yourself to others and have fun and try new things. And if you don't like it, at least you tried, because in a few years you might resent yourself if you didn't try and you're going to think more about that than actually doing it. And I think,
I'm going to go
yeah,
back to
there's just
this.
so much out there.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to this photo for a minute because I have two scars on my neck from two fusion surgeries. I have two scars on my legs from when I was a child and had to have surgery on my legs. But I know growing up with those two scars on my legs. I used to wear, higher socks to cover them. I wouldn't ever hardly ever wear shorts. I was always very self-conscious of the scars
Yeah.
and didn't have the boldness that you're obviously displaying here. And so what helped you learn that the scar doesn't matter, but you do?
Yeah. I full transparency, I did struggle with it, I think, for a couple months after my accident, and it was just really hard to not think about it just because even going to the grocery store, I had so many strangers look at my leg, and you really don't realize how that will feel until it's you. And even if people weren't judging in a negative way, it just, it's hard to not feel that. And I think I just one day woke up and realized like I need to be strong and be confident, especially for those that have even bigger scars or, more traumatic experiences. And I want to be that person for someone else that I wish I had. And I think you can have a great support system with friends and family and even strangers, but it really comes down to yourself and you guiding yourself mentally. And I think that's something that I'm really thankful for because each day it was really hard to wake up in the pain and just try to go about my day and be positive. And I felt that I shifted my whole mindset. And I just told myself that it's a badass scar and I need to rock it and, feel like confident. And now I actually like always wear shorts, especially working out. I always I never hide it, and I always bandaged it up. And I was actually more insecure with the actual bandages on my legs than the scar, just because it was intense. I don't know if I can also send over some photos, but I had bandages from my knee all the way up, and it was just a lot. So then when I took the bandages off and I was cleared to just have my staples, there were so many different stages of it, but it was hard not to be insecure about it. And then I just had so many people actually tell me like you inspire me a lot, and like the staples and now like the scar is just very like badass, like you should just wear it. And that just really stuck with me, and just telling myself like it's good to just be confident. So I think yeah, and it is a large scar. It's like a whole slash of my leg. So
Yeah.
I think it's a cool story, and I gained a very large, just different perspective on it. So yeah, I think for anyone that has a scar, you should just rock it. And scars are stories. So as cheesy as that sounds, you should just wear it. Obviously, it's easier said than done. It took me a couple months to like really feel confident in it. But yeah, now I actually have been asked if I would get surgery to remove it, and I definitely wouldn't. I love having my scar now. It's like a whole part of me.
I
So
envision you
yeah.
drawing this badass warrior princess who has a sword in her hand with the scar as like part of where the sword is striking. You just turn it into this great big, badass story for yourself.
Yeah, maybe.
What in you, because like you said, it's easier said than done. But where did you get your mindset to rise above all this? Because A, that's not common in any injury. It takes a lot of work and people may or may not eventually get there, but hopefully they do. But it's even tougher for younger people who had a whole life ahead of them and now it's been completely altered. So where did you get this mental toughness that you have and that got you through all this?
Yeah, I think it also just comes down to my mom. I grew up with a single mom, and she's always been just so inspirational and strong. And she's always taught me to just to be strong mentally and physically, emotionally, and that it's okay to have bad days. And I think with my accident, I had a lot of bad days, and I just I it's hard because I do think it's healthy to have hard days, but it's also healthy to not victimize yourself and I don't ever want to victimize myself. I think I sat with my emotions and realized this is hard, but I'm not going to use this for everything else. Like I'm going to overcome this obstacle, and I'd rather just have a different mindset. I think I realized if I had more of a negative mindset or was more sad and woke up always sad, that's just how it was going to be, and nothing's going to change unless I tell myself it needs to change. And I every single morning wrote down all the reasons I was upset and angry, and then I also on the other side wrote down what I'm thankful for and what I envisioned for myself. And even just getting out of bed, I'm trying to get water and like limping and just trying to get like crutches and bandages and having to redo the bandages every hour almost. It was really intense, and I just envisioned myself running a marathon, and I would create a playlist every week. I made a new playlist, as silly as that sounds, and just envision myself running and just seeing myself finish my first marathon. So it's very emotional knowing that I will have my first marathon, and like I've been praying for this for so long. And yeah, I think there's just a lot of good that came out of it, and just to have that right mindset. And I think that's in everyone. Some people will say like, oh, I could never be that positive, but I think everyone can be, and it's really all about like your support system, but then really like your own the mental aspect of it.
I think that the fact that you not only, did the left side list of, the issues, but the right side list of the gratitude. Our brain can't hold both thoughts at the same time. So when you start focusing on the gratitude, that's what starts building on itself. And I think the fact that you had that awareness to do that probably helped you get out of that bed a lot sooner than you could have, and propelled you forward into all that you're doing. So kudos to you. Do you do some public speaking? Are you going to write a book, or do you have any of that in you? What's going to be your ultimate mission? I tend to believe that things that happen to us also happen for us. So you're already in the things that we've talked about, using this injury to propel life for you and others forward. What do you envision it looking like as you continue down your path?
Yeah, definitely. I do think this accident happened for a reason. I think it was very traumatic and challenging, but a lot of good has come out of it. And um, I definitely do want to do public speaking. I don't currently. I'm an open book. I'm always open to discussing my accident and reflecting and helping other people if they are in a similar situation. But yeah, currently I am not doing any public speaking, but I definitely want that for my future. I'm in property management right now for my career, but so that's a little bit different. But I do long term want to also just have some public speaking experience and to help motivate women and men that that are in a similar situation, and just sharing
Do
my
you feel a
story.
book's in your future?
I've thought about it, possibly. I do think if I were to, I would definitely enjoy that. I love writing, so, yeah, and then public speaking, I used to be very nervous with public speaking, but again, after my accident, I feel that I'm a lot more open about it, and, yeah, I think I've met a lot of really great people just this year, um, while, going to other, like, networking events and other being in situations where I can share my story and hear other people's stories.
What do you find is the most common question asked of you about this injury?
Um, Probably if there are a couple, but I think the main question was, did I think I was going to die, or did I die? And I think I kind of, mentioned that briefly in the beginning, but I did accept that I was going to die in the ambulance, and I think that was just the scariest situation, or scariest experience that I've been in, just because my whole life flashed before, and it's just, yeah, you don't really picture that for yourself. You don't ever think you'll be in a situation like that, especially this young. And that just it made me realize how much I haven't done yet, and made me question, why am I holding back? Why am I not doing so many things? I keep saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But when you're in a situation like that, you realize you almost feel guilty that you haven't done those things sooner. And I think a lot of people hold back on doing those things because they're worried about other people judging them. But just being in the ambulance, I didn't even care about that. And just all my thoughts, I felt like I was there mentally, but physically I couldn't speak, I couldn't really move, but mentally, like, all my thoughts were in my head. And it was the most interesting experience I've ever been in.
Do you feel like you died?
I do remember going unconscious and just seeing all white, and like they say in the movies, and being mentally there, but I couldn't open my eyes, and I did feel that I died. I still to this day don't know what, like, everything. I just have like a very vague memory of going in and out of being unconscious. But I do feel that I was at peace. Like, I felt like I was breathing and trying to catch my breath, and just everything was very intense. But then when I saw the all white, I just kind of was at peace. And it was just a very interesting
It's very
experience.
interesting. Do you feel you saw it from a 360 view where you could see what was going on, but you were somewhere else?
I did on the beach. I remember seeing myself like on the beach. And that was also really interesting. Just the whole event was just very intense. And there were a lot of moments where I remember a stranger, she was above my head on the beach, and she kept asking me questions like, just, what's your favorite color? Like, Alli, stay with us. Where are you from? Little things like that. And I couldn't really answer. And I remember like kind of like looking around and seeing everyone in the fear in my friends' eyes were just something I wouldn't wish upon anyone. And they were all like crying. And I think it's also scary to, you know, wonder if that's your friend's last day, and but also for yourself. And yeah, just a lot of emotions. It's a roller coaster of emotions. But yeah, I think that's the main question that I've been asked. Or how did I shift my mindset, or how did I stay so positive going from working out and going to work and having, like, everyday tasks be so easy to then so challenging, even just driving. I'm not one to, or I guess now I'm a little bit different, but I used to struggle with asking for help. I always felt bad asking people, like, can you do me a favor? Can you do this and that? I'm very independent, like to just do my own thing. But with my accident, I couldn't even go upstairs. I needed help, even like showering. I needed help with people holding on to me and like going to the store. And it was just very different. It happened so fast. So I think that's my other question that I've been asked, just like my mindset.
You've lived a lot of life and we've gone through some of it, but yet you say that you felt you were holding back. What do you think you were holding back? Because you've done a lot of things. So what part of you were you putting in reserve?
Yeah, I do feel blessed that I've been able to travel a lot, and I've been working since I was 14. I've had different jobs and a lot of experience with jobs, and I'm really blessed to have the career I have right now. But in terms of holding back, I feel that I am ahead in life, but also behind. I think in your 20s, a lot of people do, wish for things that you have, but then vice versa, and people are constantly comparing. So I think I felt that I'm been held back in terms of like being open about that and like having public speaking and exposing myself. I've always just been kind of worried about not even just public speaking, but yeah, I guess like posting like videos, and I kind of want to do more running videos. For I've had so many people mention that they don't like running, and they're like, I don't understand why you would voluntarily run a marathon. So I kind of just want to do more videos like that and motivate people. And if it hits the right audience, great. If not, then it really doesn't matter anyways. So I think I felt like that I was holding back with public speaking and just sharing my journey. And I'm pretty open about it, but I want to be more open about it. So I think this podcast also is helping me or motivating me to be more open about it.
Well, I think you're going to do beautiful whatever you do. When people ask you about your injury or the accident, you've said what you hear most common for the question. What is a question you wish they would ask you instead?
That's a good question.
That's my one for the day.
Yeah. Um, probably Probably, like, the early stages of it. I think a lot of people ask more about, like, the recovery, but I wish more people asked about the experience being in the hospital because I think that was one of the most challenging parts for me. I like to think I'm a very positive person even prior to the accident. I've always prided myself in being optimistic and positive, but I think in the hospital, even though I had friends and family visit me and come different hours of the day, and you really see who your support system is and who's there for you, I think, um, I haven't really spoken about the actual, like, mental aspect of it, and when you're alone with your thoughts. I think just being alone at night in the hospital was really challenging, and to this day, I still get emotional about it because it's just so much has happened since my accident, but I think there were so many different challenges, but being in the hospital was one of the hardest parts, so I wish more people asked about that or I could help other people that have been in the hospital that long too. I think 6 days doesn't seem that long, but when you're in there nonstop, especially at night, waking up every 30 minutes, it can be really lonely and challenging.
Yeah, I was only in a few days for my 2 neck fusion surgeries, but I was like you, I'm asleep, and then the nurse would come in to wake me up to give me a pill to go to sleep, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"I'm already asleep, just leave me alone."
Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, okay, you don't need
Yeah,
to
I'm
come back."
good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that because a couple weeks ago I had my daughter on, and she talked about her own traumas and her own situation, which was a little different, but some of it was similar because my daughter attempted suicide, and part of why it became an issue was, I became very angry that she did that, and I had asked her, "Why didn't you come to your mom and I when you were in that dark of a spot?" And she said, "I didn't wanna hear your positivity. I didn't wanna hear that I could make it." And it made me realize that I was trying to see her where she could be instead of where she was. So instead of meeting her where she was, I was continuously, "Oh, you're gonna be great. Here's the things, blah, blah, blah." And so for her, it became toxic positivity instead of just positive. So, and I know the situations are different, but the mental darkness is not. So tell me about the hospital and why that was so challenging. What part of that do you want to share that people aren't asking about?
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm really sorry about your daughter, that's really scary,
Oh,
and
she's
think
here, so
yeah.
I'm good. And so
Yeah,
is she.
yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think, with the hospital, it's interesting actually because I really haven't shared any of this, but I'm open about sharing anything. But I think I haven't shared it because it was, a very dark, um, place in my life, and I think I agree with your daughter. I think it can be really challenging when you are in such a you have such a heavy darkness in your life, and too many people are like, "It's okay, you got this, and it's gonna be great," and it's easier said than done when it's not them, and I think not enough people talk about that, and, it's good to be realistic, but then also positive, and I think those are 2 different, concepts, and, um, when I was in the hospital each night, I've always been religious, but not always spiritual, and I think I've gained a lot of just being spiritual and religious, but more spiritual when I was in the hospital. And yeah, I just really like envisioned myself getting out of the hospital and sharing with friends and family. And I think some of my friends didn't know if they should ask how I'm doing or, say like, we got this. It was just kind of hard. But then, yeah, some of my closer friends would just be very real with me and be like, yeah, like this sucks. Like, how you doing? And I think just, having a combination of some dark humor, but then also being positive really helped. I think that's really just, helped guide me through that accident
But
in my
when you're going
recovery.
but when you're laying in the hospital bed for 6 days and you're surrounded by all this, "Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, you can do it." Naturally, there's a part of something in us that goes, "Bullshit, I'm freaking in the hospital with my leg half cut off, and I may never
Yeah.
even, they're talking about amputating. What do you mean I can do it? So
Mhm.
describe the dark part so that we know how you got to the light part. Because
Yeah,
obviously you're here and you're doing well, but
definitely.
describe the part you didn't mention to people.
Yeah, I think so. Each day got a little bit easier for me being in the hospital because I just knew that it was one day closer to me getting released. And I think just having a healthy balance of being, upset and really sticking with your emotions, and then also being positive and excited. I think it's not realistic to be positive the whole time. And even though I'm a positive person, I wasn't always like, yes, like, here we go. Like, there are a lot of mornings where I like, usually I'm a morning person. There are a lot of mornings where I just really didn't want to talk to anyone. I just was in so much pain. Again, it felt like an axe was going in and out of my leg. And I was just really ready to be out of the hospital. So I think if I were to give any advice or at least share my experience, I would say being realistic, but then also positive. So just being able to journal what you're feeling is healthy. But then also, I think sometimes you really don't want to journal. And I think I was overhearing people say, just journal, it's healthy. They're like, I don't want to journal. I just want to be out of the hospital. And I think just like as silly as it sounds, just talking to myself and talking myself through it and letting, you know, my family and friends know that like I am okay and that I will talk when I'm ready. And I think just being silly and, also finding joy in little things too. And that really helped me just talking about what my next steps were and starting small to then bigger things. So
And what do you
just little,
want as you, I mean, you're in your mid 20s now and you're going to run your first marathon in a couple days and you're going to do wonderful. And then you'll probably get the fever to run more of them. So,
yeah.
but what do you want your future to be? Because you're young enough now and you've had this life altering experience and you have a, I don't give an F attitude about, I'm just going to go for whatever it is, which is great. I think everyone should embrace that. But what do you want it to be now?
Yeah, trying to think. I think with just getting out of the hospital, I was still very positive, but I did feel that I lost myself a little bit just because I was so used to being, out and about and being able to work out and just even just driving and going for a walk and little things like that. It's really hard to just, feel that you're taking a step backwards. But I was just really thankful that I did lead to recovery. I still can't fully feel my right leg. I actually can't feel my right knee, and I still have some nerve damage, but I was cleared to go skiing a few months after that, about like 5 months after. And yeah, so I was still a little bit worried about just certain activities, but that really helped me to stay positive. And I think I had short term goals and then long term goals, and then completing my short-term goals really help me remain positive and feel that anything's possible, as cheesy as that sounds.
But what do you
And
want? What do
yeah,
you want those long-term goals to look like for you?
yeah, I want to just still have a great career and have a really good work ethic, but then also have a great balance with working out and new friendships. I still have some great older friendships too. One of my best friends from third grade is actually flying down to run the marathon with me. So I'm excited for that. And then I think just meeting new strangers too. I've really put myself out there meeting new people and just starting a random conversation. And you really never know who's next to you, even at the grocery store or at a coffee shop. And I think that's just one of my long-term goals too, just to keep meeting new people, even if it's just one conversation and you'll never see them again. Everyone tends to have some advice and their own journeys, and I love just asking questions and learning about new people. So I think with work, I would like to have that as a long-term goal, just still do well career-wise, and then down the road get married one day, have kids, but right now just really focusing on trying new activities.
Make your mom a grandma.
Yeah, she does not want to be a grandma anytime soon though.
And my daughter's just a couple years older, and we don't want to be grandparents anytime soon either.
Yeah.
So,
know that.
as we kind of wrap this up, and I appreciate you taking the time to share your story, and you're just a radiant light that I hope the whole world gets to see in some capacity at some time. But I'm going to ask you the final question that I ask everyone. What does a warrior spirit or having a warrior spirit mean to Alli?
That's a good question too. I like to think it's more internal or more of a mental aspect than physical. I think it really just comes down to, pushing through challenging obstacles and seeing the good in it, and just, stepping out of your comfort zone and being, I think you're more capable of things that you think. Sometimes in the moment you might not think you're capable, but just to overcome certain obstacles like that.
Well, I'm glad you overcame your fear of going on this show and came and shared your story. And I just really appreciate you and wish you the very, very best in all you do.
Thank you. No, I'm really glad that we got to, that I got to be on here. And it's been so nice meeting you. My mom's spoken so highly of you too.
She's a wonderful lady. And if you'd like to get in touch with Alli, you can do so on her social media accounts or Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn account. And then, as always, thank you for joining us on this edition of A Warrior Spirit. We're now on all the major platforms, as well as on Roku via the Prospera TV app and at breakthroughradio.net. So be sure to like or subscribe to catch all the episodes. As always, the journey is sacred, the warrior is you. So remember to be inspired, be empowered, and embrace the spirit of the warrior within.
It's not just about the fight, it's how we rise from it.